We are Steve and Jill.
Together, we've been buying and reselling land since the 90s.
Our data-centric approach leaves our buyers asking, how can you sell it so cheap?
Here on the Land Academy Show,
We answer that and more. I'm Steve and Jack Butala.
And I'm Jill DeWit, and this is the Land Academy Show.
This is episode number 2102. Today's topic, how we buy profitable properties that fit our acquisition criteria. Boy, if that's not one simple sentence, there's some good information in this.
Versus all the other ones?
Well, no, there's just, sometimes there's the most simple sentences and topics are, how do you guys do it? And so we'll talk about that. And all week this week, Jill and I are talking about, how we're setting ourselves up to make about $2.5 million buying and selling property.
Or more.
With the underlying theme here all this week is, what's the secret sauce?
Yeah.
You guys throw these $1 million numbers around. Let's tell us how you really do it. And we'll do that. Today's no exception. Each day on the show, we answer a question from our Land Academy member Discord forum, and we take a deep dive into land-related topics by your request.
Okay. Zane and Tara wrote, "Good evening, all. Reaching out to ask the community if you can share, given your experience, any pros or cons with sending a one-page mailer versus a two-page mailer complete with a purchase agreement. I've been sending out two-page mailers for the past year, but considering cutting back to one. I feel a one-page letter could simplify for the seller, as the two-page aspect sometimes throws off potential sellers. Thanks."
I'm really glad
you had that.
I'm glad you brought this up, and because we're doing multiple mailers in new places, and we're buying and selling this year a lot of houses, and every single mailer we send out, we change.
Yeah, I have different
We don't
ones.
dramatically change it. We change little nuances that I put in there that I think are gonna help us respond better. One of the things that we're doing this year that's a little bit different from the past is, in some markets, not all of them, getting a local phone number and a local mailbox. Not every single one, but for a bunch of reasons. And a lot of that, we're rolling with the changes, like Jill likes to say. A lot of that is a result of kind of the world that we live in now, this post-COVID world where people kind of judge people from a certain state or have a predetermined opinion of, people from Texas versus California versus Arizona and all of that. So you never want to send, and I love that you're questioning this. You never want to send a mailer that's going to make it complicated or hard or confusing. You want to do everything you possibly can, like a television commercial or posting on the internet. If you're selling something, it's like deliver one message and make it as simple as possible for them to understand and give them a call to action or what to do the next step.
Like, click here.
So for years, it's been, if you want to sell your property, sign the purchase agreement that's attached and send it back, or take a picture of it and just let us know. And a lot of people do that. And for land mailers, I wouldn't do it any other way. For house mailers, I changed the content of that to serve that specific purpose. If they know that you're a local person, you're going to get a much higher response, or they think you are. Or just read the room kind of thing. And I would heavily encourage you to go with your gut on this stuff.
For anyone that's going, what are you guys talking about? So our typical mailer, which has been developed and massaged and tested and used over the 30 years of Jack doing this, is now it's 2 pages. The first page, and it's not front and back. Now to rip off this thing and tear it in here too. It's a very professional first page kind of introductory letter as who we are, our company, how we got your information, and why we're reaching out to you, which is we'd love to buy this land. And it's this land, not your land. It's not generic. It's all beautiful mail merge, so it looks like a personal letter to that person about that particular property. And then the second page goes with it, which is, hey, if this sings to you, here's a purchase agreement, sign it, send it back, all up in escrow, and we can get this started right now, kind of thing. So that's the gist of it. So, and I like that. I kind of think that if I only had the one-page introductory letter, I would be looking for more. I'd be waiting for just something else. It's like, even a postcard, a postcard with a coupon for a pizza thing. They make it look like you cut out the coupon because it's like there's some action to be taken to get this result, if you will. Never mind, I can still call Domino's and say I'm doing the 2 pizzas at $10.99, 2 medium pizzas for $10.99 with 2 toppings.
That sounds really specific, Joe.
Oh, yeah. I may or may not.
Do you get chicken wings with that?
That's a whole different promotion. We'll get there.
Now we have to have pizza for lunch.
Yeah. So 2 medium, 2 topping pizzas for $10.99. May I take your order, please?
Again, that's strangely attractive when you do stuff like that.
Although back then I didn't work at Domino's, I worked at Straw Hat Pizza. Oh, that's a whole nother story. Anyway, but there's a call to action that I can now interact, and I can get your letter, Tara, and I can go, oh, we're doing this, and sign it and send it to you. So I question you're going to miss some good juice and people from that. I personally we don't take that out.
For houses, I think this day and age, I do not think you should send a purchase agreement like that. I think you should send a letter with a clear next step, because everybody's so used to it. 10, 20 years ago, things are different. Everybody's so used to having that stupid realtor, licensed real estate agent. Yeah. And so I think that there's a...
What if you change the name? What if you called it something else then? You're like... What if you called it for land? I mean, this is stuff you could play with instead of land.
Yeah,
for land, you call it a purchase agreement.
Questioning it is great.
Maybe if you're doing houses, and Zane and Tara might, I'm not sure, but maybe for houses you call it like, a
letter of interest or
something.
Letter of intent, technically.
Letter of intent or something like that. That could be kind of
a letter of intent, and then you celebrate, and we'll do all the paperwork for you. Yeah. This is just an indication of your price acceptance or something like
your
that.
interest to open escrow and all that. That would be kind of cool.
Interest to open escrow. Yeah. I like that.
Okay, cool. Anyway, we know Zane and Tara very well. Obviously, they're in Land Academy. We'll talk about this more on Thursday.
Today is Thursday, and we're talking about how we buy profitable properties that fit our acquisition criteria. The point to this today is our acquisition criteria. So we all know this week, if you've been following along, that we want to make $2.5 million a year. Jill doesn't think it's enough, but we'll start with that anyway. And we want to, if you listen to the show on Monday, we want to do a couple of deals a month. So we want to generate about $200,000 a month in gross profit. And we only want to do 2 deals. So I followed that train of thought and only sent out offers to places where that's conducive. So I'm starting to, without actually even calling it acquisition criteria, I'm developing our acquisition criteria. So Jill mentioned earlier this week too that millions and millions of offers out there. We get calls from people from years ago all the time.
It's hilarious.
And I'll tell you, some of the deals that come back from those are good. Is it going to help me accomplish my $2.5 million a year if somebody's got 3 small properties in Deming Ranchettes that I know I can make $3,000 each on? I'm not going to do that deal. Maybe $1,000
maybe
each.
$300 each.
What was really important to us 10 or 15 years ago, especially when I was sending mail out before Jill joined our group here, it's just not as important to me anymore, those types of deals. So you have to have, and this is really, it gets overlooked all the time, and it's really important, an acquisition criteria, and you need to stick with it. Mm-hmm. So I'm not saying if you get a great deal in Deming Ranchettes, post it on Discord. If somebody else wants to make $2,000 or $3,000.
Yeah, or if it's valuable, don't kick everything to the curb, but just the goal is to not be chasing something shiny, like, oh, and now I'm becoming a commercial property pro. And I spent 6 weeks on that, because this can happen, because I thought this was a good deal. And then I took my eyes off the ball and all these other things that were over here. I should have just been putting my head down doing it. So, because that's, speaking from experience, that's what can happen.
I learned this the hard way. And here's what happened back in the
pizza.
I cut my teeth on buying and selling long-term care facilities, like I mentioned earlier, and I have all through the Land Academy presentation here for the last 10 years. And so I would represent companies that were going public or on the way to going public, and they needed a lot of acquisitions. So they would submit their acquisition criteria to me, and it would all be some version of the same thing. And it was, they developed that acquisition criteria. You know, I was very young. I just wanted to do a deal. And so these complicated acquisition criterias got in my way. They got in my way of doing transactions. One deal in particular is, you know, I want to buy a licensed nursing home that has 120 beds with one nursing home station. So one nursing station. So you can picture a wheel. The nursing station's in the middle, and that always bothered me. Like, why 3 nursing stations? I can find all kinds of buildings with 3 nursing stations, but I can only find a few with 1. And it's because the way that it's staffed and how you staff nurses and the techs and all of that stuff is easier. Mm-hmm. The staffing ratios
sounds
are
like a beautiful
easier
thing,
to manage it. Yeah. And so it was always. Now I'm at this age, and we own multiple companies, and we're trying to accomplish and fit our acquisition criteria. I understand. It needs to be a property that I know I can sell for whatever, buy for 100, sell for 200 kind of thing, or 180 or some number like that. And that's just it. If it's a property I want to make $30,000, what it's doing really in the end is distracting me from pursuing properties that only fit my acquisition criteria. Why? Because I want to make $2.5 million. I don't want to make $800,000. That's the path that I would go down on 30,000 unit. You have to make it up in volume then. Mm-hmm. It's so easy to walking away from $30,000 deal is very hard.
It's interesting. It's at the level we're at, we do it. Like we literally have mailers that go out, but it's the funniest thing on the planet. We have a personal property mailer that we have sending out. At the same time, we have a house mailer going out. At the same time, we have other land mailers going out. So it takes a while to be able to juggle all those things. Like, okay, the call comes in, I may negotiate the deal, and I gotta initiate the boots on the ground on that one. This is land, it doesn't need that. Let's just open escrow. There's all these different things. So, and it's what makes me think of this is I just did a coaching call a couple weeks ago at the end of Career Path with a member who she was picking her criteria. I said, no, hold on. And she's like, because she has experience in both. Well, she has more experience in houses than she does in land, and she really wants to do the easier of the two, land. So I'm like, okay, I really strongly suggested you pick one and go with it. Never mind, you are very experienced in lots of different types of real estate in other ways. But for what you're doing right now, it's going to be so much easier if you just pick a criteria, put your head down and go with it. Even, staying in the same state, you're going to build a nice team. You're going to get some agents that you can work with. You're going to get title companies that you get going with. If you do 5 or 10 deals in Texas, let's just say, you're going to get a little team and you're going to be real comfortable. And then you're going to get those, just moving through the system. Then you could start, while that's all paying all the bills, start branching out into other things, adding that. That's my favorite. When I have this state over here with this team and this state over here with this team and this state over here with this team, I'm in my happy spot. Do you like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I think we're kind of, it's interesting because we're reinforcing the topic, but we're doing it Jill's way and my way.
Yeah.
But we both want the same thing. And we end up accomplishing that. It's just she's looking at it from her perspective, like, what do I have to change and how I deal with that,
what hat I gotta put on today? Yeah. It's really like that. I got to put on my house hat, my land hat, my fill in the blank hat.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Join us tomorrow. It's Friday, and we're going to talk about how we resell properties to ensure profitability. As silly as that sounds, we'll talk about how we do it. You are not alone in your real estate ambition. We are Jack and Jill. Information
and inspiration
to buy undervalued property.
We hope you find our content valuable and we appreciate your support. If you have not already, please check out our channel and hit the subscribe button.
And your comments and suggestions help us to create the content you're here for. Hitting the like button helps to support our channel's algorithm and gauge your interest for future shows.